Hi, I'm Bill Osborne, City Manager in Douglasville. Welcome to another edition of On the Agenda. Today we want to talk about a topic that the City of Douglasville has made a lot of forward progress in, but we still have some things that need to be attended to. And we're talking about radio communications. Now, I'm not talking about turning on your radio in your home. I'm talking about the radios that you've seen on television, in particular with police officers being able to communicate. And I want to tell you what Douglasville has done on that. The second part of the program this afternoon, we'll have a special guest with me to talk about that being our Police Chief Joe Whisenant. So I hope you will stay tuned to On the Agenda. Welcome back to On the Agenda. In the early 1990s, the City of Douglasville had what's called a low-band radio communication system for its police department. And we wanted to improve that, the quality of our radio communications. And we had found out about what was new in technology. It was called the 800 megahertz system. The problem was there were no frequencies available in the metro Atlanta area. The big governments in the metro Atlanta area and the state of Georgia had all the frequencies. And then we found that 20 frequencies were being released by the state of Georgia. The city of Atlanta was expecting to get all of those to get ready for the Olympics. But we found out that if you got in line first, you would probably be able to stay ahead of the rest of the pack in order to get the frequencies. And we put two people on the midnight plane here because we heard that the frequencies, they were ready to receive applications. And fortunately for Douglasville, the man from the city of Atlanta was on vacation 2 or 3 days. We ended up about 4 days ahead of the city of Atlanta, went through the process. Federal Communications Commission awarded the city of Douglasville 8 frequencies on the 800 megahertz band. The city of Atlanta got the other 12 frequencies, and so we had what we wanted to improve our radio communication system. We talked with Douglas County government, the Water and Sewer Authority, the Board of Education, to see if they wanted to partner with us in this. And for various reasons, none of them wanted to take the plunge. So I liken it to the story of the little red hen. You know, the little red hen tried to get help from others, got no help, so the little red hen said, I'll do it by myself. So little bitty Douglasville built an 800 megahertz system. We're probably the smallest local government in the state with this type of communication system. We built a 440-foot tower, and we got the radios, and for the city limits that we had at that time, it gave us great coverage. A couple of years later, we were told by the federal government that you had to have approximately 100 radios for each of your frequencies. Of course, we had only about 250 radios, so we knew there was a danger that we might lose most of those 8 frequencies. And we were able to work out an intergovernmental agreement with Cobb County so that, which was beneficial to both governments. We loaded our radios onto the Cobb system so that if our tower went down through a lightning strike, then the tower that Cobb County had in the southwestern portion of Cobb, we could actually broadcast from that tower. Cobb loaded about 800 of its radios onto our system and then used our tower. If the tower that they had in the southwestern part of Cobb County went down, that gave us sufficient radios on the system, which we still have loaded, the Cobb radios on our system. We're still on their system working together from an intergovernmental standpoint, and so we have the 800 megahertz system in operation. Now, one of the things that has happened, of course, in recent years is that we have expanded our city limits. And so now we have part of the city of Douglasville down along the Chattahoochee River tributary south of Sweetwater Creek, and all governments have problems getting into that area because of the low-lying nature of the river basin. And as Chief Whisenant will tell you later, when most events happen at the mall, in other words, be it a robbery or shoplifting or whatever it may be, most of the people who commit those crimes in trying to escape head east on I-20. And once you get on the other side of Six Flags Hill, our radio communication system will not work effectively because the signal can't get across Six Flags Ridge. And so we have some issues there that we're trying to deal with. Now, we have worked closely down through the years with the Douglas County E911 Center. The 911 is the dispatcher for our police department. It works very effective with us, and actually we've provided updated equipment to them for our 800 megahertz system. But one of the things that we're really trying to do at this time, in addition to being able to communicate, have our officers be able to communicate down in the tributary area and on chases into Fulton County, Atlanta, is to be able to talk on what's called an interoperability mode. And this, most of you, of course, remember what happened in 9/11, how there were some problems in different agencies being able to communicate with each other. And we have that here in the state of Georgia, with sometimes different agencies aren't able to communicate because the signals, they're not on the same system, or the signals are not compatible. And the state of Georgia and the federal government is trying to bring more local governments together with their radio systems, and it's called interoperability. And we have been seeking to improve our abilities in this area, and we've been looking at two things on this. We've been looking to the west, and we've been looking to the east. Now, to the west, with Haralson County, Heard County, and Carroll County, several years ago, the city of Douglasville took the lead with those three county governments in forming a regional radio system authority called WARS. We worked together for several years trying to get some major funding to start this. We were unsuccessful, but in the last year and a half, Carroll County and the other two counties, with some funds that they had available, they have purchased some equipment. And so we're hopeful of seeing WARS become online, and this would provide radio communications actually from the Alabama line on into the edge of the West Atlanta area. And then we're also working with Cobb County. In fact, the state of Georgia provided Cobb County with money to put in what they call a master switch, so that the city of Atlanta, Fulton County, DeKalb, all of the major governments in the metro area are tied in with that master switch. We want to tie into that master switch also, which would give us better communication, would enable us to have what we need as we go into Atlanta, but it would also serve for law enforcement possibility of being able to have communication from the Alabama line basically to the east side of Lawrenceville, which would be a great asset to all the local governments. And let me just tell you about what we're doing with Cobb County, and I want to just say how much we appreciate how Cobb has worked with us. Commission Chairman Sam Olens has worked with Mayor Thompson on this. David Hankerson, the county manager, and I have worked together on this now for the last 2 or 3 years. In fact, Mr. Hankerson assigned the director of Cobb County's radio communication operation, Tracy Roberts, to work with us on upgrading our system, how we can tie into the master switch, how we can get some grant funds, but we're looking at some progress being made of a significant nature over the next few months. And what we want to do is this. Cobb County and the city of Douglasville, we have worked together on looking for a site for a new radio tower. And Cobb has found what they believe to be the best site for them, and certainly it's going to help us a great deal. So around the first of the year, near one of the Cobb County fire stations, almost on the top of Six Flags Hill, there'll be a radio tower that will go up. And we would be able to connect onto that tower, and so for the first time we would be able, with our officers going into Atlanta, to be able to receive signals as they go into Fulton County on the other side of the Chattahoochee River. We also are looking at working with Cobb County on changing over from an analog system to a digital system. Now, back when we got our 800 megahertz system in the early 1990s, everything was analog. But those of you who are far more familiar than I with how the field of technology has grown and advanced, you know, everything's gone digital. And so the radios that our police officers were using in the 90s, analog units, basically those are becoming obsolete. And we've got to replace those with digital units. And we've got to have digital units in order to tie in with the master switch. We've got to have digital units in order to tie in with what the war's equipment would be in Carroll County. And so that's a task that we're working on at this time. We've identified from our general fund some money that will help us move forward in this direction. Police Chief Whisenant has identified some drug funds that can help. We are looking ahead to the SPLOSH referendum on September the 18th, because we have $4 million in that SPLOSH referendum that not only would assist in upgrading equipment, but also in building a tower that we need still to serve down in the Chattahoochee River area. So I'm excited about what we're doing in our radio communication system. As I say, it's been an interesting journey. When Douglasville started about 12, 14 years ago, trying to go from a low-band system just so our police officers would have better communication. We were on the cutting edge for several years. Now technology has moved beyond where we are, and we're trying to catch up. I believe we will, because I think the citizens of this community want to have police officers to have the equipment that they need, so that when they're out on I-20, for example, a police officer stopping somebody on I-20, a police officer that's chased somebody into the city of Atlanta, maybe off on some of the side streets, being able to communicate back through 911 so that there can be backup obtained if that's needed. Just being able to go into some of the low-lying areas where the radio signals are not as strong as they are perhaps when you're on some of the higher elevations we have in the city. So we're excited about what will take place there. And when we come back in just a couple of minutes, I'm going to have with me Police Chief Joe Whisenant, and we're going to talk about not only some of the issues that I've been explaining to you, but the chief, who's been chief for 24 years, but before that was a detective, and before that was an on-the-street officer. He can share with you some of his personal experiences on the value of making sure that that radio is a good way to get back in touch with people in 911 and your backup units. This is Bill Osborne, City Manager, on the agenda.
City TV, bringing Douglasville and Douglas County a new look at government TV. With Ask the Mayor. On the agenda, the Police Report, the lineup, and City Council meeting broadcasts. City TV, programming for our citizens.
Welcome back to On the Agenda, and today I have a very special guest, the Police Chief of the City of Douglasville, Joe Whisenant.
Thank you.
When I became city manager many years ago, Chief Whisenant had already been in that position for several years. So together we've seen a lot of changes here in Douglasville. We've seen Douglasville grow from a very small community to a bustling suburban area. And the police force, of course, has grown during that time from just having a handful of officers to having a very, what I call a complex department with different departments and task forces. Yes. So you've seen a lot of change, Chief.
Yeah, I have, Bill, and you know, I kind of age and date myself, but you know, I came out here 31 years ago, started my law enforcement career in the first term for Sheriff Earl Lee, worked at the Sheriff's office and learned a lot from him, made a lot of good friends in this community and decided to come over to the police department. Started as a patrolman here, as I had been at the sheriff's office, then was made the only city detective. Also served as a detective with the sheriff's office, and then was lucky enough to be made appointed the police chief some 24 years ago. So it's been a great ride, Bill. It's 31 years out here, and it's made a lot of friends, and wouldn't change a thing.
Right. Well, you know, if you think of when I became city manager, if you look at the facilities that you had,
yeah.
And of course I know that if I get you started talking about what we're planning and so far as the new public safety building and everything, we'd probably be here all day. But I know you are excited about what's happening to look at the improvements with the police department. And you know, down through the years, we have made a number of improvements. It's just that the buildings haven't caught up with some of the other improvements we've made.
And that's only one thing that we need to improve on. You know, we've improved with our personnel, we've improved with our equipment. Our facility's been a little short, and we're going to address that. But you and I also have something else we want to talk about today, too.
Right. You know, for the average person watching television, some of the police shows on television, and they get a sense of what the reliance a police officer has on being able to communicate back to the dispatcher and be able to call for help. But you've been there. Tell us a little bit about what it's like when you're out on patrol by yourself and you've got something happening and you need to know that you can reach help.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and a little background, even though I've been the police chief 24 years, prior to that, I mean, I was a street officer at 2 different departments, you know, working the road at night. And when I first started at the sheriff's office, you know, when we got out of the car, we didn't have walkie-talkies. We only had 2 walkie-talkies at the whole department, and they sat in the detective bureau for stakeouts. So when you get out of the car, I mean, you were alone. You were by yourself. You had no way of communicating with anybody. And it's, you know, it's a very uneasy feeling. Of course, back then things were a little different too. We were more rural area. A lot of times you knew who you were dealing with. And in this day and time, that's not the case for our police officers. And being able to communicate and having that walkie-talkie, that shoulder mic, being able to hear what's going on, and also being able to just reach up and touch the switch and being able to get out and know in your mind that somebody's hearing what you've got to say is very reassuring. And unfortunately, we're not quite there right now.
And you know, if you look at what equipment we once had, I know that in some small departments, even now, you may have trouble if you're trying to key on your mic, and we have that so that we have very instant communication. And for most of our city, geographically, we've got an excellent system. I had talked before you got here, Chief, about how the city of Douglasville back some 12 to 14 years ago took the initiative and got an 800 megahertz radio communication system. We may be the smallest jurisdiction in the state with one of those systems.
Yep.
And it does give us the capability of communicating in a far superior way to what we once had. And of course, we're tied in with the Douglas County E911 Center, the dispatcher for you. In fact, I know through our 800 megahertz system, we have the capability of patching the sheriff's department in for communication. And so if you look probably at a lot of our city, we have excellent radio communications, but we've got 2 big problem areas, and we want to talk about those briefly, but also talk about what we hope to do to improve those. But identify for us the 2 major problem areas that we have at this time.
Well, east of what a lot of people consider Douglasville proper, the east of Fairburn Road, when we get down into the Lee Road area that's been annexed into the city of Douglasville and into Thornton Road and then over on Riverside Parkway, we have tremendous problems in those areas, not only just in the open areas, but in apartment complexes where we get below ground. Our walkie-talkies will not get out, just plain, pure, and simple. So we're having officers get in these areas where they have no radio communication at all. as I said, it's not just only inside buildings, it's in some areas because of the terrain that the radio signals don't come in and they don't go out, particularly off walkie-talkies. So we've got a tremendous problem there because we're answering calls there, I mean, all day long and all night long. And also, just as important is the fact that 99% of all of our pursuits, when we're pursuing felons, people that have come out here into our community and committed crimes, those chases go eastbound on 20. 20 has been great. It's an economic boom for the city, but also with it comes the criminal element. We're easily accessible. They steal cars, they come out I-20 west, they commit crimes, they get on I-20 and go east. And when we get about Riverside Parkway, or Riverside Drive on I-20, right there at Six Flags, we start losing communications, even in our cars. Now, that is a tremendous problem for that officer. A lot of times, or most times, the criminals, once they get to the area that they're from, that they're comfortable with, they dig off of I-20. And we got no idea street names, where we're headed, what direction. You know, the cars don't have those little compasses in them like a lot of our personal cars may have. We got no direction which way, no idea which way we're going. We've had situations where officers, they'll get in a foot chase in an apartment complex, and Bill, they have no idea where they are. They've been trying to get back out. Units are trying to find them. You know, we know they're in the Atlanta area. We got the Atlanta police trying to find them. We've even had a situation where an officer was in the Lakewood area of Atlanta, could not get out, and he was trying to get his cell phone and dial the 7-digit E911 number, and had a wreck, hit a tree, and was very lucky that he wasn't seriously injured. And you know, from my perspective as your police chief and you as a city manager, I mean, this is just, we just can't have that. We're putting our officers' lives in extreme danger. It's dangerous enough. They're going into an area they don't know, and they're willing to risk their lives. But we need to give them the support and all the technical support we can so they can do their jobs better and safer. And I think people in the community would feel that same way, because I'm a firm believer that this community is a great place to live. It's full of great people that are law-abiding citizens. And I don't think for 1 minute that they want to see their police officers or deputy sheriffs or anybody for that matter that's a public servant out there making it any more dangerous than their job already is.
Right. And of course the growth that we're having down in Tributary now, of course I'm sure you're having more calls there, but it makes us even more determined to try to go ahead and get this problem remedied. And we've been working with Cobb County, who've been, that government has been great to work with us on this. And we're hopeful, as you and I have talked, that shortly after the first of the year to have the ability for our officers who are going into the Atlanta area to have that communication, which we very much need. And I know we'll all feel a lot better when those men and women on that pursuit and your detectives that are working in Atlanta are able to communicate back to 911, and we're looking forward to that. Likewise, we're looking at when we can get that new tower up. And you know, we got several things that we're working on, both with money that you've made available through the drug fund and with some general fund dollars that we've managed to set aside on helping to do this, and we're working with Cobb County on seeking some grants from the state. And of course, the September 18th SPLOSH referendum includes $4 million to help us to upgrade our radio communication system. So if we can get all of this to come together, then I think we can deal with what certainly is a very important aspect of our police department that needs attention. And I know that the mayor and the city council are interested in seeing this problem resolved, even as you and I are. And so I look forward to one of these days us being back on here talking about what we've got in place.
Well, I do too, Bill. And you know, I've got two projects. The one we're talking about in communication, of course, the public safety facility on this current SPLOSH for September 18th. And both of them are extremely important to me, extremely important to all the police officers and just everybody in the community in general. And you know, I'm really happy that the mayor and council have stepped up and said this is going to be a public safety type splossed and get some issues resolved and get those to the forefront. Maybe do what get what we need so that we can operate more efficiently and effectively too.
Right. Well, I think that these are exciting times. Our police department, I know, is excited about what's going on. And if you look at the growth that we're continuing to have in Douglasville, we know that both of our jobs will continue probably to get bigger and more complex. And I think I'm like you. We've both been around a long time. We've seen a lot of growth, but I think I know from working with you, and I think you've seen in me also, we still have an enthusiasm for the job, enjoy the challenge each week, know that there's going to be something different to come along, but look forward to what may happen next. And I'm very pleased with what our police department has done and is doing, and I know I'm not as excited as you and your officers concerning the new building, but I know I'm looking forward to being able to be there for the dedication and seeing all of you move into that space and then have the problem. I'm looking forward to having the problem. You know, we're going to keep a police precinct downtown, and I think that's important for people in the downtown area to know that we're not abandoning them. We'll still have a strong police presence here. We'll still have a police precinct, but we won't need all of those buildings. So I look forward to how we can get a reuse for those buildings. And I'm sure you would look forward to having everything under one roof.
Yes, sir. You know I will. We've talked about this for years and years, and as I've told you, I've been walked to the altar more than once on this thing and left standing there without a bride. So I'm really excited about this. I'm going to be out there that groundbreaking, grabbing shovels, and I may dig a big old hole to start the footings with that shovel, because we are excited. The police department's excited. You know, you just don't know how seeing this project finally really moving ahead and look like it's going to come to fruition. Right. It's you know, the city council had bought the land the other day, and you know, we really see it's more than just talk now. Right. So we're excited. I know you and I have had several years as a team, and I appreciate the support you've given me through the years, and I know how you feel about these two projects too. And you know, I'm looking forward to a few more good years, Bill,
right.
with you.
Same here.
With you.
And you know, with the new station, just as we conclude this part of on the agenda, I believe that with that location that the mayor and council has selected, which is of course on Fairburn Road, just south of I-20, this will make it much better in terms of responses down Absolutely. Into the tributary New Manchester area, with the Highway 92 relocation, with the railroad underpass. You'll be able to get to the north side quickly and won't have to worry about trains stopping you and trying to figure out how you get across the track if a train is stopped or even going through. And as we said, we'll keep a precinct downtown, so I think that this is going to make for a very efficient operation, and look forward to seeing you move in.
Thank you.
And appreciate you being with us today for this edition of On the Agenda.
Thank you, Bill, for having me. Enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
I thank you for being with me today for On the Agenda. It's a great pleasure to be on City TV and to have you join us each time for one of these programs. I hope this has been informational to you today. I hope you'll join me next time, because we plan to try to bring to you information we feel like will be beneficial to you, that you're interested in, concerning the city of Douglasville. So this is Bill Osborne, City Manager, with another edition of On the Agenda.